Hi, it's Mike again. Today I'm at Sundon Park Quarry and I'm going to be talking to you about sustainable living. Join me for the ride. Right, so when I talk about sustainability, you probably think about putting things in a recycling bin. And that is part of it, admittedly. But if you're living sustainably, you're connected to the environment around you. And that in itself will bring happiness, or at least clear the path to happiness. Our principles are: first, do no harm. Don't harm yourself or others. And this brings me on to the subject of toxicity. If you're in any situation, in any sphere of your life, there are potentially toxic things that do you harm. And that might vary from person to person, from time to time, but your first responsibility is to remove yourself from that toxic harm. That can be toxic people, toxic situations, actual toxins, pollutants and the like, or illness is in some ways a toxin. So your first responsibility, do no harm. Take yourself out of that situation. The next topic is to reduce. Reduce the things in your life, take away the clutter. Now that can be two things. Let's look at the clutter of my weight, for instance. One thing I can do is reduce the calories. I can eat less, I can have less coming in, I can be more mindful of what I'm putting in my body. But also, I can exercise. I can reduce the amount of calories residing in my body, in my life, and get them out of my life. I can exercise them away. So you can control what's coming into your life and what's going out of your life in all spheres. So in the physical sphere, you might just buy less, so you've got less clutter in your house. You've bought less stuff, so there's less stuff to be around. You might want to output more, give stuff away, use things that you've had in your life, going to IKEA and buying candles, tea lights. Actually use them. Then you've got less clutter, you've got less in your life that you're carrying. But also it could be in social situations. Maybe you say yes to parties that you really don't want to go to. It's not always bad to go to a party you don't want to go to, you might enjoy it. But also it's about being mindful of what situations, responsibilities, contracts, what you're getting yourself into. So being mindful and engaged with your input. Also, when something's done, get it out, get it finished, get it away. You don't want these things hanging over you, particularly for your mental health. If you've got a to-do list that has got 400 things on, that will be hanging over you no matter what you're doing. So how can you have happiness unless you are one of those people, one of those lucky people who can just say, don't really care. But I don't think you are, because I don't know anyone who really is that person. They might kid themselves, but they're not that person. The next thing we can do is reuse and revitalise. If something is getting stale and becoming a burden, look at ways that you can re-enliven it. Like maybe a hobby that you're getting bored with. Well, how do you make it less boring? How do you make it something that excites you again? Those objects you have around your house, can you paint something? Can you rearrange things to make it more exciting and just something that gives you happiness rather than becoming a burden? Revitalising, it might just be cleaning something. It might just be spending some time with a friend to reconnect with them. It might be finding something new in a social situation. It might be learning something new about something that you already know about. I go back to our video on seeing things differently. Maybe that is something that you can do to bring something back to life. Then we go to repurposing. If that's not helping, we repurpose things. I know jiu-jitsu. I studied jiu-jitsu. I got a bit bored of jiu-jitsu, but maybe I can use a lot of the skills that I learnt there to learn judo or aikido or something else. You drive a car, maybe you want to use the skills of being able to drive a tank, I don't know. But repurposing, and again, household objects, that's very easy to see cases where you might find a new use for something old or redundant. Then we've got recycling. Take it apart. Is a part of it that could be useful? Is there something that's part of it that can be used somewhere else? Is there another person that might get the benefit of that you no longer have? You know, an old computer game that you finished, or maybe introducing two people that would get on really well together, to bring a new use to those things. And then, of course, our last stage is disposal. When do we get rid of something, and how do we get rid of it? How do we have the least impact? You know, if it is, say, a friend or a business colleague or something like that, how do you dispose of that without being harmful to them? You don't want to be mean and nasty, but you want to manage their exit from your life. Maybe not answering the every call, or saying, I can't meet you that day, meet me on my terms, and then you sort of decrease that over time. It depends on the person and the situation, but you see my point. All of this depends on you being more aware of what is there, what is in your life, what's causing you stress, what's causing you pleasure. And there are stages that we go through in the book of finding out what you've got, not trying to make judgments about it, just finding out what is there, what you want there, and then managing that transition period between the two. So you may or may not be aware of the pyramid of life model that we use, which starts at the physical world and the body. These are places where it's a lot easier to see these principles in action, but then we start looking at, have you got a mobile phone contract that no longer works in your favour, and is that something that maybe you need to just have a look around and see what deals are on the table elsewhere? The mind, have you got any thought patterns that don't serve you well, things that cause you stress that you then need to manage and become mindful of, be aware of, so that you can make an informed decision about how you deal with those. Behaviour, are you really aware of your behaviour? I know I'm learning things about my behaviour. Just doing this vlog, I've realised that I talk over people. It's a really, really bad habit. Not because I don't value what they're saying. It's because if I don't say what I think at that moment, I'll forget it. That's simply what it is. But it's something I'm now mindful of, and I'm going to manage that one out of my life. Communication, social media, emails, texts, WhatsApps, whatever you have it. We're bombarded with so much communication, and because we carry it around on our phones, it can have so much detrimental effect. It can happen every few minutes. You're getting a bleep from your phone, and you can watch people around you and yourself that you reach for your phone, you go for your phone. So it might be as simple as disabling the alerts for these things coming in, but it also might be setting up a rule so that certain types of emails just go straight in the bin. You don't need to deal with them. You don't need them on your psyche. You don't need them as a stressor in your life, and they can actually be quite toxic. Also with social media, all those people who are always putting out negative things, putting out things that affect you, annoy you, you don't necessarily need to unfriend the person, but you can silence those alerts so that you're not seeing it constantly, because you're seeing one of our other videos, you are what you eat, and that goes for your mind as well as your body. Then social, there are a lot of toxic people in our social lives. through business, personal life, friends, family, and we need to look at those. We need to find out, why do we always feel stressed around these people? Do we need the stress? How does the relationship, whatever that might be, benefit us? And does it benefit us enough to warrant the stress that we get? Can we modify our interactions so that we minimise the stress and maximise the benefit for both of us? And in our lifestyle, how do we view our lifestyle? How do we interact with the world? How do we see our future? Have we got hopes and dreams that we've either forgotten and we need to re-enliven, or things that we're hitting a brick wall with and we need to examine? Because the recycling, the sustainability is reusing as well. It is repurposing. It is finding fresh ways to utilise the resources that we've already built up. And then ultimately our spirituality and purpose, because we are connecting with the world, we're connecting with our own worlds, our internal worlds, our external worlds, and becoming more aware, we can find more contentment and more happiness. So your homework for this week is to find something maybe in the physical world, in your home, that you can either repurpose, pass on, re-enliven in some way. Also something mentally, a thought process that you often have. You should examine that and see whether it's valid. Is it toxic? Is it something that needs to be looked at, changed? Is it true? Is it not true? When does it happen? How do you deal with it? Come up with a strategy for dealing with it. And then maybe in a social situation, look at some of your friendships. Not your close friends, but some people in your lives that just cause you irritation. Why are they causing you that irritation? Can that irritation be transmuted into something that is useful to you and helpful to you? What do you get out of that relationship that is worth keeping it for? And if not, how do you manage that out of your life? If you found any of this useful, then give us a thumbs up. Tell all your friends, and there are going to be some more specific ones about sustainable living in the various areas of your life. So give us a subscribe as well. Thanks a lot.